Recording!
We're recording! Hello, everyone.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome to Two Black Girls, One Rose.
Where two black-ass girls invade the whitest show on earth. The Bachelorette. I'm Natasha.
And I'm Justine.
And welcome to Nice for What to These Niggas, Becca edition.
Ooh, yeah, I'm excited.
So, if you guys have been sticking around with us since Ari's season, at the conclusion of Ari's season, we did these episodes where we basically spend, a good hour and a half doing a deep dive into the season. So, for today's episode, we're going to do a deep dive into Becca's season and rehash some dating, relationship, life themes that came up during the season, and we'll chat about them, and then also talk about our own personal dating and relationship and life mess and stories. And so it's a fun little episode, and will bring us back down memory lane, back to Dusty Becca's journey for love. So that's the agenda for today. But before we get to all that, we do have some exciting announcements. First and foremost, if you haven't gotten the memo, next week, Rachel Lindsay will be on the podcast. We are so excited. Y'all don't even know.
Yeah.
She's our ultimate interviewer or interviewee. And we're very, very, very excited to have her on the podcast. And our mystery male guest, who we announced previously, he'll be coming on in October because we had to shift him to the side for Queen Rachel. So that'll be next week.
Yeah, and next week also is the mailbag episode. So Rachel will be helping us answer your questions on love, relationship, dating, work, life, friendship, everything. And since she is not only a successful lawyer who's in a great relationship now and engaged, she was on TV doing it all and has probably been through a lot, especially Natasha's cousin, shout out to Francesca, is a lawyer, and she's told us some stories. So I am excited to hear what she has to say and get her expert opinion. So if you want Rachel's opinion on your life, anything messy, and you want Rachel to give you some advice, email us at the number 2 blackgirls1rose@gmail.com.
Yes, and you get your questions into us before Monday, September 24th, please. Next announcements, you guys, we got merch. We said it once, we'll say it again. My 2 Black Girls, One Rose t-shirt and mug arrived in the mail last week. They look dope. I'm very excited. I posted a picture on our Instagram story, so go and check that out.
I can't wait for mine.
Yeah, so support the podcast, guys. Join our community. Be a walking billboard for us. Greatly appreciate it. For us to continue to make this podcast and to put this content out for you guys, we truly rely on your support. So get your merch today. You can go to the website www.teespring.com. It's spelled T-E-E spring, like the season.com / the number 2 black girls, the number 1 rose. Go get your merch.
And I'll put it in the description box too for you guys. And once you get your merch, then take a photo of yourself with your tea in your mug or your shirt going to the gym, and tag us in your Instagram story, because now we're on Instagram.
Yay! Oh my God, it's so fun. I love it.
So fun. Shout out to everybody who's on Instagram and not Twitter who has messaged us.
Yeah.
I find that very interesting that there are some people just hold up in the Instagram.
Everyone's on Instagram, but not everyone's on Twitter. So
Yeah, so shout out to all of you guys. But our Instagram handle is at the number 2 Black Girls, One Rose. And also share anytime you listen to the podcast. Just take some time, take a little screen grab, a little screenshot, and add it to your story and tag us. So that way we can have fun and interact with you. We repost it to our story. it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
We're having fun interacting with you guys on this little platform. So.
And as always, rate, review, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. The handle's #2, BLK Girls, the #1, Rose. The Bachelor's obviously not on right now, but we do still tweet and still live tweet a bunch of other reality mess. So
yeah,
if you still want to hear us or see our live tweeting, go and follow us on Twitter, and also search for 2 Black Girls, 1 Rose on Facebook.
Yeah.
All right, that's that for the announcements. Justine, do we have some church announcements?
We do.
Yay!
So
what about your program?
we
I have to say that real quick.
have to. We had a bunch of emails this week. We had Louisa, Jacqueline, Adrian, and Rachel, who gave us some love. Also gave us some details about us, which is always cool. I love when you guys put like little anecdotes in who you guys are and what you guys love in your emails. So shout out to all 4 of you guys. So shout out to everybody who slid into our Instagram DMs.
Yay.
We see them.
Yes.
And we love them. Some people are even spilling tea through the Instagram DMs. So thank you guys all for the love in there. And that's it for the church announcements.
All right. We do have a little bit of Bachelor Nation news.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
No.
First and foremost, everybody, I am still sick.
Still.
You can hear it in my old grandpa laugh, and I will be coughing periodically through this podcast. I have the same goddamn cough from 3 episodes ago. It's still here.
God.
I'm sick as a dog, but I'm trucking along, so just want to put that preface out there. In Bachelor Nation news, Becca M, baby Becca, she is pregnant. If you haven't already seen the news, for her husband, Grayston. I totally missed that. Justine told me this, that she got married.
Yes, she got married in a little house on the prairie, dress on the beach. She was definitely pregnant. This was like maybe 3 weeks ago, and they got married, and they have not been together for very long. So I see why now I really see why she went on The Bachelor, because that really would have worked for her.
Yeah, she said she wanted to be a young mother and a young
mom
and a young wife and all that. So she's getting her dream. She looks happy. She looks beautiful. She's glowing. So I'm happy she's happy.
Yep. Sponsored by Pure Wow.
Right, because she's about to be out here selling them diapers, boy.
Yep.
Selling all that baby gear.
Yep.
On on Instagram. You know, another mother that I watch a lot, Whitney Port from The Hills.
She's a mom?
She's a mom. She does all kinds of videos on breastfeeding and shit, and I'm all up in the videos. Like, I got babies to breastfeed. I don't know why. She's one of those like mommy influencers that I really love for some reason.
Oh, I love Whitney Port. I'll have to follow her.
I've always loved Whitney, but yeah, she's a mom. She's out here selling her mommy stuff and doing mommy stories and stuff. Yeah, it's like a whole nother world of the influencer, kind of thing. So we'll be seeing Becca out here shucking baby girls. And more unhappy news, rather.
Oh my God.
Jordan, a la Jordan and Jenna, he did an interview with Reality Steve, giving his side of the mess with his fraud of a wife, Jenna, or fraud of a fiance, rather, Jenna. I listened to the interview with most of it. The major takeaways. So it sounds like the story is Jenna had a sugar daddy.
Okay.
Some older man who's helping her out with her lifestyle, her business, whatever. And basically, she didn't want to let that sugar baby relationship go. So those texts were essentially that, her trying to like butter up to him. And I guess that's what she's going to say her story is, try to butter up to him, that she, not in love with Jordan, so he doesn't leave her, basically, or doesn't stop with his payments or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And Jordan truly was blindsided. Like, he was not involved in this scam, or they were not in cahoots.
Really?
Like, this was Jenna's whole thing on her own.
What? Oh, I have a really hard time believing that, but okay.
No, it sounded like, because if you think about it, if they were in cahoots, why would Jenna do something like this? because she's looking bad. Like, why would she enter into a scam or whatever with Jordan where she ends up looking like the fuck boy at that, like the fuck girl at the end?
I don't know how he's involved, but the fact that he did like 4 or 5 interviews in one day makes me very skeptical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I feel like people, Jordan especially, he likes to, regardless, be in the limelight. And he's not about to have them talking about him and whatever, and he's not giving his piece. So that's how I saw it as. But also Reality Steve. So Reality Steve released like the text messages. That's the text from Jenna that we all saw. But apparently there were also like email. So the guy was emailing Reality Steve and verifying everything. And Reality Steve showed all of that to Jordan. And that's how Jordan was able to pretty much break his engagement with Jenna, because he made a very informed decision. It wasn't just based off the text. It was, he saw kind of other stuff behind the scenes and basically was confirming on Reality Steve's show that like it's her. So her lie saying that it wasn't her, or her next story saying that, you know, she didn't really mean it. This is just a guy that she had in her life, blah, 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 blah. Jordan saw a little bit more behind the scenes. So so that happened. Best of luck to them. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I was gonna say good luck to them, but I mean, they'll find it.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. Whatever.
They're 2 pretty blondes in America.
Right.
They'll work it out.
They'll work it out. Jordan will be on another Paradise like next year.
Absolutely.
Jenna
if not Winter
fine.
Games in 3 months.
Right. Exactly. And yeah, that's all I got for Bachelor News. Should we dive into Nice for What to These Niggas, Becca edition?
Let's go.
So basically, we're going to dive into Becca's season. Becca's season included a cast of highly problematic men, from Garrett to Lincoln to Leo to Gospel Chris. While the ending obviously wasn't our favorite, and Becca pissed pretty much all of us off in the end by choosing, Garrett Kushner. The season overall still, I feel like, presented like a lot of juice to dissect. Similar to Ari's season. Ari wasn't our favorite. His season wasn't our favorite.
At all.
But there was so much good stuff in there to like talk about. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay. So the first topic we're going to get into is what Justine and I like to call everyday bigots. The Garretts of the world, the usually straight white men and or straight white women who we are all friends with, we work with, we party with, we confide in, who are regular schmegular everyday people in our lives, who underneath, all of that well-intentioned stuff, sometimes possess very problematic thoughts, opinions, and outlook on people who don't look like them. Generally people who are oppressed, people of color, LGBTQ, immigrants, all of, those types. We call them everyday bigots because, they're not like the backwater swamp redneck,
the Duck Dynasty
flying their Confederate flags, riding around in pickup trucks, like those aren't the everyday bigots. Those are kind of like the very obvious racist rednecks that we all know and label as racist rednecks. The everyday bigots are the people who, a little bit more well integrated into our lives, who we're sometimes friends with, until one day we either have a conversation or we overhear them say something, or basically we become a little bit privy to their rather troubling belief systems. So as it relates to The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, last season with Rachel we had Lee. This season we had Garrett, who he seemed to be a pretty well-liked guy in the house.
Yeah, that's usually how it is. Yeah, because they're usually very friendly and easy to get along with.
And regular schmegular.
Yeah, and regular, yeah.
And like even after his whole Instagram scandal thing broke, like mad people, like other guys in the house, like ran to his defense. Including many of the contestants of color. which, you know, for us, that was very shocking and surprising, but he was
kind of.
Yeah, exactly, kind of. He was a very, you know, well-liked person in the house. Justine and I personally, as y'all know, didn't give Garrett not a single morsel of a chance on this season because fuck Garrett and his MAGA-ass beliefs. But scandal aside, like if you push the scandals aside, the scandal never happened. Garrett appeared to be a very regular-ass, decent white man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's honestly, for me, so now I'm talking more personally, for me, it's honestly like the Garretts of the world who I personally fear the most.
Yeah.
Because with the backwater rednecks, like, I know where they stand.
Exactly. Right.
I know exactly what they believe. I know exactly what they think about me. With the Garretts, that shit sneaks up on you. And
you don't know until you invited them to your family's house, or, you know, you had drinks with them. You don't know until you've gotten to a certain level of intimacy in that relationship, which is extremely aggravating because you spent time building something with someone who hates you secretly. And thinks that you shouldn't have any rights.
Exactly. Oh, God. So, yeah, with Becca choosing Garrett in the end, Becca, who, you know, allegedly was like this champion for social justice. She was a Clinton supporter. She was a, you know, harsh critic of Trump. It brought up, like, it really brought up a very interesting topic and was honestly like the topic of a lot of think pieces like written on the internet.
Oh, boy.
Of like, how does one deal with the everyday bigot? Like, can you in fact marry and date one of these people? Like, are we supposed to give them a chance? Can one truly overlook someone's like bigoted ways? Like, what's your experience with the Garretts of the world, Justine?
So I have a lot of experience with the Garretts of the world because I've worked in a lot of different places and a lot of different arenas. It's mostly at work. At school, I remember in college definitely dealing with this. But there's always signs. Like, there's always signs that you can see. Now, at the point of 28, I can see it almost immediately. Back when I was 18 and going to college, I was just like kind of trying to make friends and trying to be cool, so didn't really want to like ruffle anybody's feathers or anything. And I went to PWI, so I wasn't, and I was trying to have fun. So I wasn't really like looking for any of the signs the way that I do now, and I wasn't writing people off the way I do now. But my experience with the everyday bigot is that they will expose themselves within probably like half an hour of a conversation.
What?
You'll tell. Yeah, you can tell. Pretty much, you can tell. Say one of the jobs I had, I was talking to a guy about weddings, and he had just recently got married. And I told him about how a friend of mine did her wedding at the courthouse, and she said that her wedding was the best day of her life. And I was like, that's amazing, because she spent $900. So that's phenomenal.
Good for her.
And he was like, no, that's not what you do. Your parents help you out. How could they do that? Yada, yada, yada. And immediately, I knew he was a Trump supporter. Because only people like that, people who think that everybody grew up exactly like them, you can tell immediately. You're like, oh, no. Nope. I wrote him off immediately. I was like, okay, I see exactly where you stand. So it doesn't take much, and it really takes talking about superficial shit. You don't even have to talk about social justice.
Where it can come up, reveal itself.
You talk about everyday shit, and you'll find it out almost immediately. So that's my tip for any of you girls listening who are in college, and maybe you like somebody, or you have somebody who's in your friend group who you may feel a little bit uncomfortable with or something like that. Just have a one-on-one conversation with them about some superficial stuff. Don't talk about voting, you know? None of that. None of save that. Maybe talk about someone being pregnant and like going to the doctor, and maybe they'll expose something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? But that's my experience. What about you?
So I have
What about
so
you,
so what you
Tosh?
just said about like girls in college, if you're dealing with, people in your friend group saying ignorant ass shit or whatnot. So I have an example of that, and
Oh boy.
kind of what you said, like in college, you just want to have fun. You're not trying to, call out racism every 5 seconds. But as you get older, you could become less tolerant. But basically, so this was this is after college when I was living in Australia. So I've mentioned this on the podcast a couple of times. About 6 years ago, I lived in Australia for a year, and I was traveling with some friends, and I had a friend who would sometimes say little like microaggressive, like little black jokes in a way. Like she'd make little things about my hair, my weave, things that I would say about myself, but she would like repeat them. You know what I mean? Like it's okay for me to say it, but you saying it ain't all that good. But I would kind of brush it under because I wasn't really offended by it. It was more like, okay, enough with the hair or enough with the this or that. And so that was that. And then there was one night where a few of us were pre-gaming, hanging out, and she made a Asian joke. Mind you,
What?
no one in the group is Asian.
Oh no.
So, so nobody in our circle was Asian. And I mean, she got away with saying little black things because I was black, so I was in the group.
Right.
But now you're saying jokes that nobody in the group is even like represents. So now you're just saying ignorant shit.
Yeah.
So in that moment, I called her out, and not even in like an aggressive way. I remember I distinctly was like, "Oh, that's not cool. Don't say that." Like very plain as day. And I could see she was kind of like taken aback, and we kind of just like moved on and went about our lives. And so later that night, we were walking back to our hostel where we're all staying, and I hear her behind me talking to another friend about how, Natasha, da-da-da. I hear my name. So I turn around, I'm like, what's up? Like, I can literally hear you saying. And she's like, well, I just don't like... Here we go.
Well, ellipses. Well, you already know. You already know. White woman tears may be coming next.
Exactly. Well, I just don't like how you made me feel. And like... It's almost like you were trying to make me feel like I was racist and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, hold up, wait 1 minute. First of all, I never said the word racist. You said the word racist. So that's on you. If you felt that way. Because I didn't say that. Second of all, I was like, the reason I called you out is because no one in our group is even Asian. So now you're just saying racial jokes just off the cuff, trying to be funny. And I was like, you need to be careful with that because you might one day say it around someone and you offend them. And she's like, well, I would never do that. I would obviously never say a joke around someone who's Asian. I'm like, but that's not the point. Like, you don't know who has an Asian auntie, who has an Asian best friend, who, like me, I'm black, I'm not even Asian, I was offended. Like, you don't know who you're going to offend. And so I basically was I was like, don't get into the habit of saying these kinds of jokes. And I almost felt bad because she had gotten away for so long with saying these little black microaggressive shit with me. That now when I'm calling her out, she was almost so caught off guard because she'd gotten away with it. So basically, I say all that to say that in that moment, I learned a lesson that, like, when people kind of like the everyday bigots or the very well-intentioned white people in your life who are your friends, when they sometimes say things that are offensive, you have to, it's almost like the burdens of responsibilities on us sometimes to call them out in that moment. And I think for me, I let so much stuff pass by that she almost got to a level of comfort where she felt like she could just say anything around me. And then
because you were the barometer.
Because I was the barometer.
Even though you weren't acting like one, you were her barometer.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's my one little story that I wanted to say to, the young people out there or people who are dealing with kind of these people in their life who say these kind of like off the cuff comments that we let slide. But like honestly, sometimes you do have to say something in that moment to kind of be a learning lesson to that person. Even though it is a burden to bear that responsibility, I think it is an unfortunate responsibility of being a POC. So. Oh
my God, it's horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing I wanted to say. I do have another little story.
Go ahead. Let's go.
A work story. So kind of not contradicts, but I don't necessarily agree with what you said earlier about how you can always see it, because I have a story where I got duped by
You did?
a very good friend / coworker who turned out to be a full-fledged bigot in the end, and I had no idea, had no signs, none of it. So a couple years ago, I was working at this organization that basically champions educational access for students of color. And I had a very good coworker friend who was a white male, and we were legitimately friends. Like, we would go out to lunch all the time. We hung out outside the office. He came to my birthday. I went to his birthday. I met his girlfriend. We'd all hang out after work. Like, we were legit, like, friends. He was a cool dude, and he was, like, a quirky kind of dude, but I liked him. We had a good vibe. And then one day at lunch, this is now months into, maybe a full year even, into working there and being friends. We went to lunch with another coworker, and we got into a conversation about race and a conversation about kind of like the organization that we worked at and the mission. And he just didn't really understand. He worked there, mind you, as a white man.
Right.
He didn't understand the mission. He didn't understand what we were, like, why are we championing educational access for people of color? What about poor white people? And then from that trickled into, girl, it trickled into a whole discussion. Next thing, we're talking about slavery. We're talking about Jim Crow.
At lunch?
Yes, girl. We talking about Trayvon.
Boy.
And he ended up saying some very troubling things that really just caught me so off guard. About just just oppression in America and how basically we need to get over it.
Yeah, like it doesn't exist,
like,
right.
In so few words, that's what he was saying. Racism is over. That's literally almost what he was saying. And it was saying so much.
What was his reason? Obama, or because white people are also poor?
The poor white narrative was a big part of his discussion. Also because he comes from a working class kind of blue collar background. So that was that. So I kind of understood, a little bit what he was saying there. But he also was just very willfully ignorant. Like, he doesn't watch the news. This was around the time where, like, Trayvon Martin was happening. I think it was around the time of Trayvon Martin. He had no idea what was going on with the Trayvon Martin case. Was just willfully staying ignorant of those things. And we basically were at lunch. We're just having at lunch, and then later at like happy hour, basically doing like a whole history lesson with him. And it was just so much he didn't know, didn't care, and just was so harsh about basically saying to me, like, these are all problems that you need to get over. And it's 2018, Obama, like, I don't know if he said Obama's president, but he basically was saying, he was using me as an example, like, look at you, look at your family, you guys are so successful, you made it, why can't everybody else make it, why can't black people get their shit together, like, and that shit caught me so off guard and troubled me so deeply to my soul, to the point where we basically, like, broke up, like, our friendship, broke up.
You gotta cut him right off.
Yeah, I had a weekend to kind of like mend myself. Like, literally, I was having like sleepless nights. And then that next week I came in, I asked him if he wanted to go to lunch. And I basically told him at lunch that, like, look, I can't, it's so unfortunate we had these conversations, but I can't unhear the things that you said. And I need to, for my own sake, step away and take like a break almost, like, from our relationship so I can get my mind right, like, process what I just went through with you. And he couldn't understand it. He was so angry. You made us have this conversation. This is your fault.
Because it's all your fault.
He had no qualms about telling me I was to blame. And said all kinds of hurtful things to me. To the end, I was yelling at him. I was like, look, I was trying to salvage our little bit of a friendship left, but now I don't think there's anything left. And so that basically was the end of that. And so that was my example of getting duped. Like, literally someone who I had deeply in my life, who met friends of mine, who came to my birthday, who I went to his house, who all the while had some very troubling beliefs about black people, and he had a black friend in me.
Well, because he was using you for validation.
I think so.
As to his theory of like, oh, well, black people can do it. Look at my friend Natasha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about a lot of everyday bigots, is that they use successful in whatever term that is to them, right? Because success is defined differently by everybody. Successful black or people of color peers of theirs as validation for whatever argument they have.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is infuriating for us, because all the while we are busting their ass harder than they will ever have to work, especially if it's a man.
Right.
And they have no idea what that's like.
No.
And until they admit that they have no idea what that's like, and that they won't ever have to, they're going to continue into this pattern of like, oh, well, she did it, why can't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's not acknowledging or understanding, like, white privilege, which part of our conversation, he had no idea even what that was. And basically, as I explained it to him, he was like scoffing at it. So, and as you said, using me as an example, you are so successful, you made it. So what can you say that there's privilege? Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, that was a hard lesson I had to learn with an everyday bigot. Yeah. Like, oh my God, that shit, that messed me up for a while, honestly, Like, we had a friendship breakup, and it was messy for a while. There was texts going back and forth.
At work,
It was at work. He ended up leaving the company within, like, a few weeks after that. He was already scheduled to leave anyways. Nice. So it was, like, perfect. I didn't have to work with him that much longer, but it really taught me that, like, quite frankly, most white people cannot handle an in-depth conversation about race. And I know that's a vast generalization, but I think it's a true generalization. A lot of white people feel very uncomfortable talking about race.
Yeah, they do.
And it's partially to their own fault, because it's a lot easier residing in your comfort and your privilege of not ever having to talk about race, which is a very uncomfortable conversation, versus people of color, where we don't really have a choice but to talk about race because it's our everyday existence. But it is also the fault of just, like, our society, particularly in America, where we haven't even had an honest conversation reconciling slavery in this country. So
right.
So there's obviously white people are going to feel very uncomfortable talking about race. But that's what that lesson taught me, is that I have to be very careful who I talk about race with, and who I enter into some of those tough conversations with, particularly if they are not of color. And I want them to remain in my life. Because I had that one example where I went into it, and it was super messy.
But do you feel like not having those conversations is sort of a selfish exchange between you and the other person? Because you want them to remain in your life, because you have a good relationship with them, think they're funny, whatever, and it's like surface level. And then they are having you be kind of like their black friend, right? They're like black friend who's on the same level as you, as them, sorry. Do you feel like just keeping them there is like a selfish thing? Or do you feel like it's fine because...
So I'll say the white people I have in my life now who are like dear friends of mine are people who I talk about race with.
Yeah, me too.
So that's just one thing. Like, I'm at a stage in my life where I don't have people around just for superficial nothing. If you're here, we gonna be talking about this shit. But I do have, like acquaintances or like coworkers and things like that where I don't go into those conversations strategically, because I don't want to open that can of worms, because I don't know where that's going to lead. And you ain't my friend, so we don't even need to do that.
Right.
So for us to just remain kosher and cordial and coworkers or whatever, we'll just not talk about it generally. But any other white person who's in my life as like a dear friend of mine, they're on that level already. So we were able to have those conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I hadn't talked about that story in a long time, actually. I brought up a lot of memories. Oh, Lord. I also wanted to say, so as it relates to dating.
Now, you all know I've never dealt with this.
Justine have you ever dated outside your race?
Nope.
Never dated outside your
Not on purpose, though.
I know.
I'm not trying to be Molly from Insecure out here. I'm not trying to, like, just shun hot Asian men out of my life. I'm not trying to do that shit. I just haven't had anybody come across my path.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? That is a goddamn lie. But anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Well, if you guys go back to Nice for What to these niggas, Ari edition, we do talk about interracial dating, so you can hear all about my experiences, Justine's experiences. But as it relates to dating, I found this tweet from Becca's season that to me really summed up my feelings on Becca choosing Garrett over Blake.
Okay.
And this person said on Twitter, it was the @Sushi Suresha or something. I don't know. I just want to give credit to the person. They said the most problematic thing about last night's finale is the fact that Becca saw Blake's anxiety as a deal breaker and not Garrett's racist, homophobic tendencies. Which is exactly what I thought when she threw Blake under the bus for him having anxiety about, literally being on a show where he's competing against 25 other men for this woman's love. How that was like a big deal to her, but then she couldn't get over Garrett's foolishness.
And he's like been through everything there is to go through.
Yes, including a school shooting. Like, hello.
Right.
The fuck. And so, like, remember earlier in the podcast, I put out the question to the listeners, which I never really got my answer. I'm still putting it out there again if anybody wants to give me insight on how two people of opposing, like, political beliefs can find love, and how, like, can they truly find love? Like, how does this happen? How did Becca fall for Garrett, who so clearly has some MAGA leaning beliefs? Like, I still never really got my answer, so send me, stories, please, if anyone can do that.
Send other emails to 2blackrose1rose@gmail.com.
And so everyday bigots, deal with them literally every day in work, life, whatever. As it comes to dating, I don't even tolerate them, not one bit. So
no.
If we're not on the same political, social leaning spectrum, it's just not even a consideration. No,
there's just no way. I would be thinking about it 24/7.
Yeah.
I would be thinking about it all the time. But one thing I do have to say about dating and the everyday bigot, since I only date black guys, this is really only shifting towards the homophobia realm and the sort of conservative leaning fiscal realm, maybe. But in spite of me dating thugs and as well as educated people, I have dated way more guys who were less educated and talked to guys who were quote unquote less educated. Let's say they didn't go to college, who label themselves as feminists and are championing for feminists than I have for guys who have been to college who like whine about feminism.
Oof.
I find a lot of guys black guys, let me just put this out there, black ones, who have been to college, I'm talking to you all, who've been to college will whine about, like, certain things about equal rights, about being a gentleman, how it's not fair, and yada, yada, yada. And then the thugs who I go out with and, the street dudes who I go out with, they're like, no, I think it's cool that women should make the same as men, but I'm still going to hold the door for you, ma. Like, it's all good. You know what I mean? I'm like, what?
Oh, God.
Like, how is this happening? And this is multiple iterations.
Why are you attracting that type? What is that? Because all educated black men are not... What do you call these things? Hoteps? Is this the hotep thing that you're trying to teach me?
Oh, no.
What is a hotep?
This isn't as bad as hoteps. Okay. Hoteps are bad.
So what is
No.
this brand of educated black man who is
I don't know.
misogynist? And why do you keep finding them? This is nuts.
It's the only ones that I've ever talked to. I don't know. And it's not even dating. It's in everyday life as well.
Oh.
Yeah. It work, everyday life. Yeah.
That is very unfortunate. I have not encountered that type. I have not encountered that yet. I have encountered, I think I told this story maybe last time, the date I went on with a suspected Republican who had some choice things to say about affirmative action on our first date.
And New Balances on, right? Didn't he have on New Balances?
Yes, he had on New Balances, which are Justine's favorite shoe.
That's another way you could tell ladies in college. The footwear. If the footwear is off and it's a tube sock, maybe a cargo short, stay away.
Yeah, he had on, I think both, cargo short and the fucking New Balance sneaker.
My God.
And
Ooh.
felt like having a conversation with me, who was fresh in grad school studying affirmative action, about affirmative action. And had some real questionable things to say. And at the end of that day, I was like, you know what? Moral of the story is, I think it's okay to talk about politics on the first date, because I need to find out if you're a bigot or not. Or if, immediately. Yeah, off rip. If you have the same beliefs on certain issues as me, because if not, we're just going to be wasting time. And so, for me, I've said it before, there is a minimum level of wokeness required to date me, whether you are black, white, purple, yellow, Asian, whatever. You need to be at a level of acceptability as it relates to issues of race, all the issues. I can't even go into all of them. All the issues.
Everything.
So yeah, there's that. Did we exhaust the everyday bigot?
I think so.
Category.
I think we're done. Excited to hear you guys' questions about the everyday bigot.
Yes. Email us your questions if you're dealing with a current everyday bigot in your life. If you are like Justine and also attracting these very educated black men who, for whatever reason, have... What did you say? They have...
Well, they are annoyed by feminism and equality in a way that is very triggering. Oh. And they think that they're like challenging your mind and da-da-da. No, you're just lazy. So email us if you have had this.
Sounds awful. I've never met that type, and I don't want to. And it's very troubling to hear that exists. But email us your questions. 2blackgirls1rose at gmail.com.
And speaking of problematic black men.
Problematic men. Stop saying black men. Problematic men.
Sorry. I did this on the last Nice for What too. Sorry, guys. Speaking of problematic men, toxic masculinity is our next topic. And what we want to do now is just define toxic masculinity, because I think a lot of people it's kind of like a gray area. So let's just read what the Wikipedia has to say. So scholars have used the term toxic masculinity to refer to stereotypically masculine gender roles that restrict the kinds of emotions allowable for boys and men to express, including social expectations that men seek to be dominant, like the alpha male, and limit their emotional range primarily to expressions of anger. So basically, anything outside of this is deemed to being, I'm not going to say all these, is deemed to just being unacceptable for men. Dr. Terry Coopers, I think that's it. Yeah, Coopers. A scholar on toxic masculinity defines it as the constellation of socially regressive male traits that serve to foster domination, the devaluation of women, homophobia, and wanton violence. According to Coopers, toxic masculinity serves to outline the aspects of homogenic masculinity that are socially destructive, such as misogyny, homophobia, greed, and violent domination. Ooh.
That was a lot.
It was. There was a lot in there. We're not going to discuss all of that. But as far as Becca's season goes, it was such a hodgepodge of toxic masculinity. Yeah, just arising all over the place. It was like the whack-a-moles, they were just everywhere. Mm-hmm. So first there was Gospel Chris, who has the cocktail party. Since he won the first impression rose, he expected Becca to just come over to him and just fawn over.
The group rose. I think
the group date rose. Mm-hmm. Group date rose. And he expected Becca to come fawn all over him. And then she was like, fuck out of here. Whose show is this? It's mine. Bye. And he was fighting with Wills to steal her time. And then just in general, over the course of the show, was really an asshole to all of his castmates and to Becca. He ended up like admitting that was the reason why he didn't come up to her and kind of trying to blame her, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then Colton. So mainly not Colton himself, but the what he represents of him being a virgin and his manhood relating to his sexuality, and that being his masculinity being questioned because he was a virgin. Is definitely an example of toxic masculinity. I know I had my own personal theories as to why he was a virgin, but it had nothing to do with his sexuality or him being enough of a man. It had to do with just the fact he was so tall and good looking and he was a virgin. I just found it so odd. like, why are you married already?
Right.
Like, what is this?
Yeah. But there's a lot of theories out there of people like questioning his sexual orientation, which is like wild to me.
Yeah.
And a great example of like toxic masculinity, that a guy just can't be a virgin. He has to be like something's, he's
hiding something or and then Jordan on the Men Tell All, and I mean in general, but Jordan on the Men Tell All, he really was pointing out the guys for a lot of superficial reasons that had everything to do with the definitions we just read, constantly making comments to Colton about his virginity, and of course Jean Blanc making digs at Colton, and throughout the show. Gospel Chris and Garrett both made comments in their confessional before Colton's one-on-one date saying they know he's not coming back because he's a virgin. How could Becca possibly be still attracted to him if he's a virgin? Also, Jordan on Bachelor in Paradise was really displaying his toxic masculinity, talking about the women as food dishes, and just kind of minimalizing them in that way, and then also lashing out at Jubilee and Chelsea for literally snickering at him throwing a teddy bear into the ocean. Nigga, that's funny. Why wouldn't you laugh? Garrett also and his just everyday bigotry, like an Instagram photo where he was making fun of feminists, saying that they have to be fat and not conventionally attractive. And then another one making fun of a little boy wearing makeup, saying that he wasn't a real man or he wasn't how boys should be raised, which I have obviously deep feelings about being a makeup girl. And it had a very, very homophobic caption. Leo, which we didn't really know until Bachelor in Paradise, but he was obviously the personification of toxic masculinity. And as he displayed those traits, just got uglier and uglier.
Oh my god.
Literally, physically.
Right? Was a fucking banshee by the end. So gross. So disgusting.
Like, I definitely remember seeing him and looking at him completely differently. When we were looking at the roster of guys. We were like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh.
I see it for this one.
Burly guy with the hair and I see it. He's kind of cute. By the end, he's
oh my god. I look at him now and I'm like, oh my god, I can't
like
stand
dry
it. How he was being so rude to Kendall, calling her names, threatening to beat up, whoever ratted him out for his other display of toxic masculinity, where he said kissing was just a greeting and gaslighting her and everything, all of it.
Oh my god.
And then obviously, the number one, which is Lincoln, the convicted sex offender.
Oh my God.
Who was on Becca's season. The fact that he was a convicted sex offender who managed to get on the season, there would never. Could you imagine if Colton or Ari had like a teacher who messed with her student and she was a convicted sex offender and was on the show? That would never fucking happen.
No. But who knows now?
Happen.
Because whatever third-party agency they're hiring fucking sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then even Will's, when he walked off camera to cry and really hid his face from crying, which I personally think could have gotten him on The Bachelor. Like, it could have gotten him the spot.
Yes!
If he just showed himself crying like Colton did, he could have.
Every 5 seconds on Paradise.
All the time. Even Colton's dad being like, oh, you're being a real man, you're taking around. So yeah, those are just a few examples.
Just a few. I also wanted to add in another example that I thought was a very different display of like toxic masculinity or whatever. Is in the finale on the couch with Becca, Blake, and Garrett, where Becca basically painted Blake to be like this emotionally unstable person because he was having anxiety, and she said the whole, well, what if we had kids? Like, how are you going to act then? Like, she basically was painting him being an emotional person as being, like, unfit in a relationship. And for me, that is, like, it goes back to that idea of, like, men can't display emotions, and, you're supposed to buck up, and, like, can the man just have anxiety? Like, why was that being used against him? That, to me, was her kind of playing into the idea of masculinity and hyper-masculinity. And Blake was being penalized for showing emotion, which isn't a quote-unquote masculine trait. So,
right, definitely. And I think she should have clarified, like, I would want somebody in a husband who's emotionally more even keel and stable than I am, because my emotions are completely out of control. If I had more control over my emotions and I was less apt to cry at the drop of a hat, then maybe I could get with somebody who would show their emotions a little bit more. But I'm not that type. I couldn't have that. Yeah. Like, I knew it wouldn't be good for the both of us. And I think she should have clarified that, if that's an individual thing or if that's what she wants because she thinks it's because it's the man's job.
Right. She ain't say it right.
And she's permitted to have emotions because she's a woman.
Right.
So right now we're in this very unique moment in history where women's voice is louder than it has been in a while. And women of all races, colors, health, everybody. Not just cis straight women.
Health.
Everybody.
Yes.
I know. Sorry, not health, but you know what I meant. Like, not just cis straight, able-bodied
women. Of all
women.
Identities, yes.
Women of all identities, of all, everything, can just voice themselves. I haven't dug into it, but this whole Brett Kavanaugh thing of this girl being like, yeah, in high school he was problematic. Now it's a whole big thing, and she's making waves through the nation. And so we're having a lot of discussion about things like toxic masculinity and rape culture and just how men have been in the society. And it's interesting how men are taking it. Some men are taking it by learning more. Some men are taking it by, they feel like they're being blamed, almost like the everyday bigots. Like, they feel like they're like, oh my God, you're calling me a rapist. No, we're just saying that yelling at a woman who's just trying to walk down the street is considered rape culture. That's all.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think it's showing that overall, like, the socialization of men and how it's basically showing how pretty shitty we've raised men in this society, essentially. Like, the way they've been socialized and not being able to express their emotions and the treatment of women, just how normalized disrespect of women and things have been. It's all coming to light that shit didn't work.
No.
Didn't work at all. And now we've got a bunch of toxic masculine men walking around, and now we're trying to deal with it. So I'm glad we're having these conversations and that all of this is coming to light. And it being on The Bachelor, and it's on like a particularly in this season, it's been on a grand stage, like on national television. With the fucking plethora of guys on Becca's season who were a fucking mess. My worst nightmare, but yes.
Yeah, definitely. So what is the price that women have to pay for toxic masculinity? I have stories even from just this past weekend. Me and Natasha and a couple of other friends were out, and two of us took the train back to Penn Station together. And there was this man on the train harassing women to the point where he was like in this woman's face.
What?
Like turned towards her and was straight up in her face. And she just got up and left. And there was another woman who was saying to all the women on the train, just go away, just move your seat, don't talk to him.
What was he saying?
And that woman, he was saying all kinds of off the wall, wild, crazy shit. Like he went up to this woman and he said, "Oh, what are you doing with that?" She had like an art easel with her. He was like, "Oh, what are you doing with that? Where are you going later?" Like asking her, interrogating her, asking her all these questions. And he was like, "Oh, how do I get here? Oh, you're so pretty, blah, blah, blah." Like just invading everybody's privacy and space.
Yeah.
And just clearly making everybody uncomfortable and also thriving on it in this very odd way. And this woman in particular, who was very, very small and petite, who he was turned around to face and was like looking at her in her face and just in her face and disgusting. She left the train car. And our friend was like, "Oh, she handled that really well." I'm like, "Yeah, she handled that well, but she has to go home and internalize that."
Yeah, exactly.
Like we have to stop saying that. Like, somebody handling something well can't just be that they ignored it. We have to put some blame on the other person too, to be like, "Oh my God, he made her so uncomfortable and now she has to go walking around thinking that for the rest of her days."
Right.
Natasha and I were walking one day and some guy just slapped my ass in the middle of Central Park.
Oh my God, I'll never forget that.
In the middle of daylight, the sun was shining. Like, and I just had to walk along and internalize it because I just thought, "Oh my God, what if he has a gun? What if he has a knife?
Yeah.
What if he
was
like,
clearly
all
crazy
types of shit."
and like as women we just have to walk away and whatnot like that, but we want to see more repercussions done. Or like, justice in that moment, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's crazy. And whenever a group of men, even when I got off the train and got into my destination, I'll just say I got off and got into Penn Station, and there were a bunch of guys coming in Jets jerseys, and they were clearly drunk. And I immediately, from my head to my toe, was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, don't come near me! Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God!"
Yeah.
Immediately, like I shouldn't have to go through that, like, but we do as women because that was the walking personification again of toxic masculinity. A bunch of drunk guys all in sports gear walking towards you. Like, that's so frightening.
It really is. Yeah, that's true.
But especially if men are doing things that I consider quintessentially masculine and they're in a big group, I get like afraid.
Nervous.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
I think The Bachelorette is a really unique show in particular because we have these like men who are put in this pressure cooker who are forced to be vulnerable and talk about their emotions like constantly, but at the same time they're all competing against each other for dominance and to be like the alpha male and to prove to Becca that they're the manliest of all the men, and that like dichotomy is really interesting on the show. And I think in this season in particular, it was really put to a head because there were so many, like, quote-unquote masculine competitions.
Yeah, the challenges.
Yeah. They had, like, that lumberjack one that was all about, like, showing your strength. They had the dodgeball contest.
Yep, they had the football one.
The football date. And it's just interesting because you have all these men who are, like, getting in touch with their emotions while simultaneously trying to prove themselves to be like the men of all men. Like,
to like fit into this box of what we consider to be masculine. Yeah, definitely.
Super interesting. And I think for me personally, like I like as it comes to dating and relationships, like I'm attracted to men who have strong self-awareness and high emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. So crying is healthy. I'm a big crier myself. I much rather a guy who cries than someone who buries his emotions or takes it out in anger, or, you know, is like that scene where Colton was kind of like, when he was being sent home and he like wasn't crying. And I called it out immediately. That to me is so sad. Like, sad and unattractive. Because it's like, I want you to let it out and cry. Because there's a reason why these men are walking around slapping your ass at the park. And these drunk guys in Jets jerseys are like scaring us and shit. Like, because that's a lot of toxicity that's just like buried inside. And they've been socialized to not show emotions and cry and be a little bit more vulnerable and soft in the way that women are allowed to be. And so, like, not to say that I'm attracted to men who completely wear their emotions on their sleeve, because then the two of us together are just a fucking mess. But
right.
someone who has high emotional intelligence, who's not afraid to tap into his emotions, is I think more attractive to me, and is probably a guy who isn't going to be out here in these streets trying to holler at women on the street.
Probably. So what if he let his emotions out in a different way than crying?
Like in what way? Talking it out?
Like talking or
I'll take that.
Yeah, or even like art.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Painting.
Someone who can channel their emotions in a healthy way. Whether it, for me, it's crying. I cry a ton, love it. Just love it all the way. But yeah, it could be crying, it could be painting, it could be writing, it could be something where you're not shouting and screaming and cursing. That just, no woman is really, I mean, some women love that, but not me. But also guys who bury their emotions and don't, like that also to me is a little bit problematic.
Yes.
And will present itself later as an issue. So not for me. I also, as it relates to like toxic masculinity and, you know, men being disrespectful, I have very low tolerance for disrespect for men. I have the sweetest father on earth. I had the sweetest grandfather on earth. I was raised being treated like a princess and extremely respected by men. Justine and I went to an all-girls school. That's where we met. Yep. So the two of us together are always about female empowerment, girl power, women.
I'm a third-generation all-girls school graduate.
Oh, yes. Yeah. You're deep in this.
Yep.
So I'm all about uplifting women. And so watching this season with all the gaslighting these men were doing and just all the troubled rage and like behavior issues was just very uncomfortable and really made me sad. It really just made me think about, as I said before, how the way we've kind of raised men is clearly isn't working out so right.
It's not working.
Something's got to give. We got to give them a little bit more leeway to express themselves as it becomes to as it comes to their emotions, because it's affecting them and it's affecting us as women as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
That's all I had to say on that.
Okay. I just have a brief work thing.
Oh yeah.
Because I think toxic masculinity at work is really important. Aside from sexual harassment, which I've experienced at now almost every single job that I've had.
What?
Yeah. Actually, the least when I was working in service at a restaurant. The most when I was working in like corporate offices. So if you have any sexual harassment questions,
yes,
after you email your lawyer, email it to blackgirls@onerose.com and we'll answer your questions. And a lawyer will be on the air to talk to you.
True.
Rachel the lawyer.
She'll be here.
She'll be there.
Expert opinion.
Yep. But frequently in my experience, I found that at work, men who either aren't doing well or aren't getting the responsibilities that they think they deserve or desire demean themselves to a point that I've never seen a woman demean herself at work.
What?
Like a lot of men who I've worked with who don't like the work they're doing will say that they're a slave, a delivery boy, scum of the earth. I mean, these are like real terms that I've heard themselves call themselves. I know Natasha's like making a side puppy face, and I totally agree.
Oh,
like, and that's what I say to them when they say stuff like that. I'm like, why would you think that about yourself? And whenever I hear women who aren't doing what they want to do at work, whether they're working in a restaurant, whether they're working in climbing up the corporate ladder, they think that they don't have enough responsibility or this isn't my path. Not making these really stark and diminutive generalizations about themselves the way that men do. So have you dealt with men who have not either found their path or aren't doing what they feel like they should be doing, have had like less confidence and have like felt truly bad about themselves as people rather than women who are like, oh, I'm not doing what I want to do. How do we switch this up?
Mm-hmm, yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I feel like men, as it relates to career, men, I think men measure their success and worth through career in a different way than women do. Mm-hmm. And when it's not going well, they're very hard on themselves.
Yeah.
Not to say that women aren't, but I think men measure their self-worth as it relates to their job and work. A much higher value than women, at least to my experience working in counseling.
Me too.
And so, yeah, I mean, part of my job is doing a lot of, like, almost therapy. I'm not a licensed therapist, but therapy and, like, building confidence and helping people kind of, like, get over themselves a little bit. And get out of their own way. And so, yeah, I've definitely dealt with some young men who were very hard on themselves about their job or their prospects or things aren't going well at work or in a class or something like that. Yeah. And it's really, you can tell it's having a knock on their, I don't know, their manhood. I don't know if it's manhood is the right term, but it's having a knock on their confidence or their worth as a man, I would say.
Yeah, I would definitely consider it manhood. From the things that I've heard men call themselves, like I would definitely consider it like a knock to their just as you said, themselves as a man.
Cool. Okay. So that's, I think we dissected toxic masculinity pretty well. Send us your questions, guys.
Yep.
2blackgirls1rose@gmail.com. Moving right along, our third theme, dating the nice guy.
Can't relate.
Damn, Misty. Off the bat, you have some bad stories about dating some bad boys. Lord. So the nice guy, the aw shucks guy, the guy who often finishes last. You know, no one wants to date the nice guy. We all want the bad boy, the guy with a little edge, the guy who treats you just a little bit like shit, you know. On Becca's season, we had, in terms of nice guys, quote unquote nice guys, we had Clay, adorable Clay. Who we always said he's the type you could bring home to, like, any woman could bring him home to mom and she just eat him up. He was so like soft spoken and kind and gentle, and even I said at one point, like, I want to hug him and cuddle him and braid his hair. Like, that was the vibe that I just got from Clay.
Can you imagine braiding his soft ass hair?
His scalp, he ain't got no damn hair. Braid Clay's scalp. We also had Venmo John, who turned out to be a big pimp on Paradise, but
he sure did.
But he still was kind of like the nice guy.
Yeah.
Also very adorable, very sweet, nerdy. I personally can't picture him getting angry ever or like yelling at someone. And then we also had Grocery Store Joe, another adorable man, very endearing. Not an edge in sight, just very regular schmegular Joe, nice guy. The nice guys in Bachelor World are very beloved by Bachelor Nation.
Yeah.
Obviously not that beloved by Becca, because all three of them went home pretty last that long. And in fact, I had to think about this. In fact, the quote-unquote villains from Becca's season, and when I say villains, I'm mentioning John Blanc, Jordan, Gospel Chris, and fucking Garrett Kushner, the ultimate villain. They lasted longer than the quote-unquote nice guys. Why do you think that is? Yeah.
I mean, well, I think from what we know from Becca, she definitely falls into the woman who wants the... I'm trying to think of a way to say this. Like, he falls into a lot of the traits of a victim of toxic masculinity.
Who, Becca does?
Yeah.
Well, she was at Ross the Boss for 7 years. Yikes.
7 years. 7 years. And I think, I mean, it's a deeper conversation with, like, why she was with him for so long and why she tolerated being with him for so long. But she is the type who wants, like, a manly man. What that means to her, a girl... Ooh, sorry. I'm catching the cold through Skype. The girl from... The white woman from Minnesota, you know, what that means to her, I think is a very specific definition that Clay, Joe, and Venmo John did not fit.
That makes sense. Totally makes sense. Many women, Becca included, myself included, you know, we've all said the term, you know, I want a guy with a little edge. Or some people say, I want a bad boy.
Oh, my God. Yeah. What? Oh, my God. Yes, of course.
What? So tell me, Justine, what does edge mean to you?
Yes. So edge means to me that now being a little bit more grown and kind of knowing what I want from that edge is somebody who can put me in my place. As I said earlier, my emotions go completely bouncing off the walls out of control. And I need somebody who can really reel me in. To me, that takes a little edge. And let me define edge a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get out of this. Guys. Because it's not working. I'm still single. Yep. It's not working. A little edge is just, you got a little roughness about you.
That sounds like a problem, Justine.
I know. But it's just what I like.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's just what I like.
For me, when I say edge, like I want a guy with edge, to me, I'm saying I want a guy who can dish out the banter and wittiness with the quickness like I can. Someone who can someone who can keep up with me with jokes and teasing like I can. Like who can hit me back with it at the same time. Like that to me is attractive.
Yeah.
Someone who isn't always going to agree with me on things. Someone who also stands firmly in his beliefs. Someone who can put me in my place when I'm wrong. Someone who is very decisive with their opinions. To me, that's someone with an edge. A guy who doesn't have an edge is someone who's agreeing with everything I say. Someone who lets me make all the decisions. I pick where we're going out to dinner. He's like more passive. Edginess is someone who isn't afraid to be like, nah, we're not eating there tonight. I want to go here. And I'm like, okay, that's cute. All right. Like, I feel some type of way because he's like, put me in my place. Like,
right.
I think that's what I'm attracted to when I say edge. Not necessarily a guy who's going to treat me like shit.
Right. Yeah, no. And that being said, I do think Grocery Store Joe would have enough edge for me.
Really?
Because he has a little accent, and he straight left Kendall in the dust. He was like, I don't care if you stay on this beach or not. No. I'm out. So, to me, Grocery Store Joe is just enough edge. I think he's got the perfect amount.
Yeah. I think, as you get older...
Yeah, man.
You become less tolerant of, like, the bad boy type. And I know now, like, I really just want a good guy, like a nice guy. Someone with edge in the way that I just described edge, but not quote-unquote bad boy who's not going to text me back or play games. And, like, that I don't have time for. I think when we were younger, we put up with that and we enjoyed it because he was, like, mysterious and he was, like, the bad boy.
Yeah, and it's a chase, so it's fun. Yeah.
Like,
now we don't have time to chase.
Exactly. I have a quick story just to show the progress that I've made in my life.
Oh, yes. Love progression.
In college, I was so into this guy we weren't. I can't even say we were dating. We were not dating. Who didn't really treat me all that well. Pretty much only texted me between the hours of like 10 p.m. and 2 a.m.
Oh, yikes.
I tried to arrange for us to hang out during the day like multiple times, and he just like wasn't into it.
Oh,
but he was so cute, and my heart skipped a beat every time he texted me at fucking 12:30, and I feel like I just wasted, I think it was like junior year, I wasted so much time even entertaining this dude. And to be fair, I won in the end because I ended up hooking up with 2 of his frat brothers, so.
Oh!
Hooking up meaning I just made out with them.
Okay!
Didn't do the whole thing, just made out.
Okay.
So I won in the end, but besides that, I was so attracted to him treating me like garbage. Meanwhile, I had this other guy who was younger than me, but I wasn't into him. He was totally into me, totally adored me, enamored by me, still in my life, calling me every now and then, trying to take me out and shit. Would have treated me super well. And at the time, I was like, he's so nice. He's so into me.
Yep.
Let me text back the guy who won't text me back. Like, let me double text that dude from last night.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that, when you're young and dumb and in college, like, there's some attraction for some reason to that guy who kind of keeps you on your toes and who what is it? What do they say? You want what you can't have kind of thing?
Yeah.
Right. Versus now at the ripe age of 28, I don't have time for this.
Nope.
No time. If you are just nice to me and adore me and call me back, I can hang with you. Them other guys, I ain't got time for them. And so I've made some evolutions in my life.
Yeah. Nice.
Thank you.
Love an evolution story.
Thank you. And like also the bad boy type, when like the bad boy vibe at this age is not cute anymore.
The physical bad boy type you're talking about?
Not physical. I'm still talking about like the guy who
the vibes.
Yeah, the vibe. He calls you sometimes, and he I don't even know. Like what else do bad boys do?
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Like what is this world again?
I don't
like,
even fucking. I don't know.
Yeah, he like.
Well, they only see you at night.
Only see you at night.
That type of thing.
He's very mysterious. Yeah. He comes around sometimes. He talks a lot of shit and whatever. Like, that vibe isn't even cute anymore. Because now we're at the age where we don't even have time to waste. My free time is so precious to me that I'm not going to spend it with no quote-unquote bad boy. I need a nice guy. I'm into the nice guy. I'm totally into it.
Yeah.
What about you, friend?
I'm trying to get there.
Still trying to get there?
I'm trying to get there. I'm still trying to get there. I would date 1 out of the 3. Oh, no, 2. I would definitely date Venmo John. What the fuck? Yeah. I would date... Listen, the fact that I would date 2 out of the 3 examples and 2 of them are of other races, I think I'm making progress there. You ain't dating
Clay? Cute, adorable Clay?
No, I'm not dating Clay. No, what? No. You see how he goes on Instagram about Angela? No, that could never be me.
Oh, God. Too nice?
Way too nice. Oh, my God. Oh, I just love her. My woman crush every day. Nigga, I've known you for a month. If you don't get out of here with all of this, oh, my God. Relax. God. You've got to relax. Woo.
I'll take that, though, over someone who won't put me in their Instagram or something.
Right. Yeah, I'll take that over, the guy who's just a schmuck and won't, and you don't know where he is, and there's still that sort of mystery about him. I'll definitely take Clay over that guy. But am I dating Clay out of 3 of these? No, not really.
Oh, God. And now you guys know why we're single.
I know. I'm probably going to end up with a Clay type guy.
Yes, we should. We both need to.
Yeah.
He's clearly the better type. But yeah, email us your questions, guys. If you are dating a bad boy or trying to entertain a nice guy, don't really know how to come around, email to blackgirls1rose@gmail.com. Us and Rachel Lindsay will answer your question next week.
Yep.
Should we move into our next theme?
Let's move into it. So the next theme, one of my favorites, guys, that came up so often. Even an episode was named after it, pretty much. People and their words. So there were many displays of men and having empty words on Becca's season. And as we can see throughout watching the season, if you're in Bachelor Nation or you just watch it casually, you can see that words are the only thing these people have to go off of. So you can see pretty quickly if somebody's words are empty, because you can probably see whatever they're trying to get to in the end, which is either winning or an Instagram sponsorship or whatever. So some examples are Jason. Oh, no.
Jason.
I just read that off.
Yes.
No,
sounded
not Jason.
scripted all the time.
No, I love Jason.
I
don't think
but his words to me always sounded very empty because he sounded like he was reading a full-on script. Sorry, just putting that out there.
Oh, I love Jason. But our fave, probably the top guy who's coming in with all of these, is Garrett, who had, as we said before, max 30 words in his vocabulary, and just spoke at the second grade reading level. As I think it was Becca's uncle said, he's like a poet, which brings me to my ultimate nemesis, Jean Blanc, who dropped the L word way too early, like episode 4, and then revoked it after she broke up with him and sent his ass in the snow to the Suburban. And it just proves to me that poets can't be trusted. And that anyone who manipulates their words in order for them simply to rhyme, that includes the songwriters as well. How can you trust somebody's words like that? How?
Yeah. You really have a thing against poets. I like guys who write.
I really do.
I'm into writers. I love it. I love people who are good with their words.
No. I don't trust it at all. Move on.
Yeah, so, with John Blanc dropping the L-bomb so early and then taking it away 10 minutes later, it just proved that you can't fully trust not half the shit the guys say on the show, basically. Like, he got caught because he's a dumbass and revoked it 10 minutes later. But who's to say that any of the guys dropping the L-bomb really meant it in that moment? You know what I mean? Like, if they watch the show ahead of time, they know that there are certain milestones on the show. You have to say, I love you at week 3, and then you have to say, I'm falling in love with you by week 4. Like, so it's all words. We don't really know if you can ever really trust it as it relates to this show.
Yeah, because you can't really follow up with actions the same way you can in real life. Because you just literally don't have the opportunity to see the other person, to surprise them with something. Like poor Jason with his scrapbook.
Oh, God.
He wanted to give her that scrapbook, and she just didn't even give him the opportunity. He did it anyway, but still.
So, I think... I mean, The Bachelor really shows you how, like, actions speak louder than words, particularly in a relationship. And what makes The Bachelor so interesting is that you have these people living in a vacuum, and they're not in real life. So all they have to go off of is each other's words. Clearly, those words don't match with action when they hit the real world, as evidenced by the success record of the franchise. And these relationships break up as soon as, shit hits the fan when they get to the real world. And then, like, Blake, for instance, loved Blake. We were Blake stans. Commended him tremendously for how eloquently he strung his words together, spoke to Becca, always appeared very genuine and sincere. But when you think about it, it is just words. Like, we still don't really know if Blake would live up to the things that he was saying because we don't get to see them in real life.
Yeah.
Side note that I just wanted to throw in, because that just made me think. Do you watch Married at First Sight?
Sometimes, yeah.
So I love this show because, The Bachelor to me is like all words. Married at First Sight is all action.
Actions.
On The Bachelor, we get the fairy tale fake shit before they hit the real world. Married at First Sight, you have this couple who's come together, they are married, and we see them move in together, we see them meet the family, we see them go on a honeymoon, we see all the action it takes to make a real life couple work, and we see it either crash and burn or it becomes, really nice. And I just love that show because it's like the antithesis to me of The Bachelor.
Yeah.
And really how The Bachelor represents words and how that show really is like words put into action, essentially.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then another point we wanted to make about love and words is, and a rule that I also live by, is that men fall in love with their eyes and women fall in love with their ears. I think that's an old what's her name? Paula from Millionaire Matchmaker? What's her name?
Patty.
Paula.
Don't do Patty like that.
I think she used to say that, and I definitely think that's true. I could not, well, let me not say that because that's mean, but I think women can really easily like fall in love over the phone and like calling and all of this other stuff, but men need to see you, whether it's pictures, and they need to be definitely sexually attracted to you. I think it's at the forefront of heterosexual men's mind and falling in love. Rather than women can look past a lot of physical attributes.
I feel like I'm the opposite. I don't think I fall in love with my ears. I feel like I'm more with the men. Fall in love with my eyes. My love languages, or eyes are like, so my love languages are quality time and physical touch. Words of affirmation was like one of my last ones.
Really?
For me, like words don't mean shit to me. Like, you need to show me through your affection and through your effort and through spending time with me. And I need to be physically attracted to you. Like, that shit is more important to me than any words that you'll say. So I don't think I'm among the women who fall in love with their ears. I fall in love with my eyes and, like, your touch, so to speak. That's just me, though.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, guys, take your love language test and tell us what it is. Because mine is gift giving and I want to say physical touch.
Oh, okay.
I think those are my top two.
Yeah, you're definitely a gift giver. You're good on gifts.
I love me. I love giving gifts more than I love receiving them. And there's been very few gifts that I've received where I've been like, oh my gosh, they really know me. Because I'm really hard to buy
I already know what I'm getting you for your birthday.
Oh my God, me too.
You too. Oh my God. Oh God. Yeah, I'm so excited.
But also, to end on a fun note, something that I think about words. So right now, I'm working with a lot of young people. And the young people don't really know the meaning of a lot of the words that they're saying because they're just repeating vernacular that they've heard in songs or TV shows or anything like that. So they'll say things like, after I get out of a meeting, they'll be like, "What's the tea?" And I'm like, "You can't. That's not appropriate for
tea
this."
From the meeting, like what?
From the meeting, girl. Like, this isn't the right place for that. Or they'll say things. People will just say ratchet like whenever.
Oh, please.
And I'm like, you guys, you can't say that. And people will just ruin words really, really quickly. Think about like on fleek and even ratchet. Like, ratchet has been ruined because people just use it all the time.
People are white people.
People just don't know.
Let's say what we're trying to say here.
You know what? Not only white people, though. I would also say that, like, the auntie Facebook community also ruins words pretty fast.
That's true. Whenever white people or my dad start saying on fleek, it's done.
Oh, yeah, no, it's done. It's done. There's actually a guy in my job where if he knows about it, I know it's washed. I know it's terrible. Mm-hmm. He's my barometer. He's my barometer for things that are not cool anymore.
Jesus.
So yeah, I just wanted to put that in there because I think the youth are having a hard time with their vernacular, and I don't know what to do about it. But yeah, if you guys have questions about people and their words, if you feel like someone's lying to you, if you're dating a poet, if you're dating a songwriter, email us at the number 2 blackgirls1rose@gmail.com.
I do have an example.
Oh, yes, share.
The time I slipped up and I trusted some niggas' words. So,
no.
Remember the German? I've talked.
Oh, no.
I talked about him on, I think, the last Nice for What episodes last season. So I dated this German dude. Was this last year sometime? Or like two-ish months. And we're to the point where like staying over each other's places, had dinner, like cooked dinner for each other, things like that. Went home for Thanksgiving. When I came back to the city, things got weird. Didn't really hear from him. Conversation was like waning. But he was still kind of staying in touch. It was weird. Like he was claiming to be really busy. You remember. He's claiming to be really busy with work and would kind of like wane in communication. But every now and then would like still reach out to like keep me on hook. And this lasted all the way through to my birthday, which is like early December. And on my birthday, like all the way to the last drop, on my birthday, he texted me saying that he wouldn't be able to come because he's stuck at work and he's going on this business trip and he has this last, work thing to get in before the trip. But, we should hang out when I get back and I'll reach out. And then,
like, why?
For what, nigga? So you know what he did? He sent me the last text, kept me on string, went on his business trip, never heard from that dude again. Came back from his trip, didn't hear not a damn word. I finally reached out and was like, so, like, is this a ghosting situation or what? And, like, literally he ghosted me. Like, he never answered the text.
Yeah.
And I was really let down in that situation because I trusted his words when his actions were really telling me everything I needed to know. It really took a lot of reflecting back. And I'm like, Tasha, he was dodging you like a fucking bullet. Like, he was really trying not to hang out with you. But he kept reaching out every now and then, kept saying things, when really I should have just watched his actions all along. And that was the moral of that story. And the one time I slipped up and trusted some niggas' words, I need to stick with the actions and the quality time and the physical touch. Stick with my love languages. Fuck them words of affirmation and bullshit, because it ain't working.
Oh my God. Yeah, I do think people do say, like, you can only trust a man's actions and not his words. I do think that sometimes actions and words, they need to match up. Like, there needs to be some even tone with them. I think a lot of people, I know I personally in the past have gotten confused the other way as Natasha. So I trusted a man's actions versus his words and should have been trusting that nigga's words because he was doing things that were acting like we were together in a couple and dating and all this stuff. But in reality, he wasn't really saying that much to initiate that and to confirm that for me. And I should have been believing his words and questioning him a little bit more. So yeah, agreed. Yeah. But on the other side,
it's hard out here, man. It's hard. Can't read these guys. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
We're just kissing these frogs, trying to get a prince.
Exactly. Oh, God. Email us your questions. If some guy is texting you bullshit and you need us to help you interpret it, send us in the text. Send us a little screenshot.
Yeah, send us some screenshots.
Yes. Just C9 Rachel Lindsay.
I would love some screenshots.
Help you decipher it next week. Email 2blackgirls1rose@gmail.com. Thank you. Our last theme that we're going to get into is what we called something old, something new. So this is the idea of, dating someone who feels familiar, dating the same type of dude over and over, dating your quote-unquote type versus going out on a limb and dating something that's completely new, completely different, giving a guy a chance that you might have never have initially really been attracted to. This made me think of the movie, Something New. Sanaa Lathan. She dates the white guy. You know that movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's called Something New, right? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, the white guy, he's really cute.
Yeah. I was watching it the other day. So if you haven't seen the movie, it's cute. Love Sanaa Lathan. Basically, she's this black woman who's all about, I'm going to marry my black prince, yada, yada. And then she dates...
my black prince.
That's what she's all about, black man, and I'm going to marry a black, beautiful black man. And then she ends up falling for her, like, landscaper, who's this white dude. And she's trying something new for the first time, and it was all cute.
See, if I had a fine-ass landscaper, I'd fall in love with him, too. People are always coming at me for only dating black guys, and by people, I mean my friends. But, like, it doesn't come up that often to where I get a lot more physically attractive, I would say, for what I think black guys than I do any other race. So,
And that's fine. That's fine, girl.
Yeah.
I would like to see you try something new, though. I ain't gonna lie.
I know. Me too. Shit, me
Don't
too.
have to be white,
Me too. I have to get over my...
something outside the box, just to date it and see it and try it.
I have to get over my fear of red and pink penises.
God.
Anyway.
Back to the topic. On The Bachelorettes, Becca chose Garrett, who was a guy she repeatedly said felt like home, reminded her of her father. Some would say Garrett looked very much like Ross the Boss, Becca's ex. They literally were clones. And yeah, she ended up choosing Garrett in the end, someone who was very much in her comfort zone. And him being so comfortable and something she was so used to was really the big catalyst for why she chose him over Blake. And Blake to her was like a risk. And Garrett was more comfort and home.
Which is completely insane because Garrett had a wedding that lasted shorter than Kim Kardashian.
That is the risk. Hello.
That is a risk.
Hello.
Yep.
I feel like, so obviously I was disappointed in Garrett, or Becca choosing Garrett for a bajillion reasons, but I feel like it's kind of lame to go on this show, be given like 450 guys to choose from, and in the end you choose the same guy who looks like your fucking ex and who is like every other guy you've dated before. It's like,
who you would have met at a convention.
Have met down the street. Like, hello?
Yes.
Like, I've gotten really bored on the seasons of the franchise where I could tell that the person was going to end up with someone who was just like their type or something. Like JoJo's season, she chose Jordan Rogers in the end, who they look like a couple already. Like, they look like they've dated each other for years. Like, boring. Caitlyn Bristow, she chose Sean, who she was in love with from like the first episode, so like you already know that was it. Ari and Lauren B, he's
so
very typical. And then Becca and Garrett. I really
And Ari, also, just a quick thing about Ari's season is that he had one of the most diverse casts we've ever seen.
And
and then he had the nerves to go for the most basic one.
The most basic girl who had no edge, talking about edge.
None.
And I wouldn't be surprised if she was very much in line with some of the girls that he's maybe felt comfortable with or dated in the past.
Yeah.
And the seasons, I would say the seasons I really appreciated were the leads who really seemed to be very open-minded in their dating prospects. So Sean Lowe, he's like everyone's favorite bachelor. He had one of the most diverse casts ever. He chose an Asian woman in the end, Catherine. But even despite her, like, I really liked how he really gave everybody a chance on that show. I really feel like it.
Yeah.
Even Nick Viall, everybody hates Nick Viall. I stand for Nick Viall. Loved his season. Loved his season. As I said, he gave us Rachel. Rachel lasted very long. She was in the top 4.
Yeah, top 4.
Top 4. And even, what's her face? Raven made it to like the top 2. Raven was not someone I would have thought he would even be into. She was like this country bumpkin. And she made it to the end with Vanessa. And so, like, Nick, to me, represented another guy who seemed to give a lot of different girls a shot and made his season a little bit more interesting, I think.
And is what you're supposed to do when you go on a TV show trying to fall in love. That's what Sean always said. He was like, this is not normal. So if you're trying to do some normal shit, don't come on the show.
Exactly. And give it a fair shot. Give everyone a fair shot. From my experience, I would say probably one of the perks of online dating, which is why I'm trying to rope Justine into this world, everybody. Yes, Justine has not ever done online dating, first of all. Just put that out there.
Nope.
And I am like the queen of online dating. So there's that. But from my experience, one of the perks of dating online, even though it fucking sucks, is you get to try something new like all the time.
Yeah. That's true.
Versus if you date people in your friend circle, which there's also perks to that because you're getting people who are like vetted and things like that. They tend to be around the same kind of dude. You know what I mean? Similar qualities, similar, like maybe same look, same vibe. But dating online, you can date. I mean, I've been out with all kinds of different people. I've been out with a struggling documentary filmmaker. I've been out with a professor. I went out with a guy who was in a Christian rock band. I've been out with a finance bro. I've been out with everyone, all shapes, sizes, colors, all from online, because it's just a collection of niggas and you can just try them all out.
Yeah, that's true. That is a good perk.
Yeah,
of
that's the
dating.
one cool perk. You get to try out different things and you get out of your comfort zone each time and really learn what it is you like and don't like.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I would say for myself, I used to try to go off of a lot of like superficial traits. Especially after dating the guy who I was like supposed to allegedly marry, according to a lot of the elders in my life. And as you guys know, I was like on strike from men who did anything along the same path that man did. And that was just based off of fear. I think that a lot of this is just fear-based. And if you learn to get over that fear and just know that every man is going to be different, even as I said earlier with like educated black dudes, that's been my experience. And it's not like I'm going off of two guys. I'm going off of like quite a bit of conversation that I've had with quite a few men. But I should treat everybody as if they're different. And I have a really hard time with that.
Yes, you do.
I think.
Because I don't want you to write off all educated black men because of the more than few bad experiences that you've had with them. But yeah, you got to treat them all individually, of course.
Yeah, exactly. I tend to put people in those like little boxes instead of just feeling them out and getting to know them. And I just tend to like run away. And I shouldn't do that. I should just treat everybody as the individuals that they are. But I know it's hard for me. So guys, if you want to talk it out with me and you have a question, email 2 blackgirls 1 rose@gmail.com for your something old, something new question.
It's a learning experience. We're learning each time we go. I also, so like one little quality I tend to go for in guys are guys who are extroverted or a little bit more social. I'm an introvert. I'm a more social introvert, but I am very much an introvert in my core. And so like I don't want to date another introvert because then we'll never leave the house. But a few months ago, I went out with this guy for about a month. Very nice guy. Pretty much broke things off with him because he was kind of lacking an edge, to be quite honest. But very nice, but he was a little passive, timid, very reserved, introverted. I really gave him a shot because I wanted to try something new. I wanted to go against the grain and stop going for the extroverts and let me try someone who's a little bit similar to me, a little bit more reserved and introverted. And really gave it a shot, but just wasn't for me. Like it really confirmed for me that I do need someone who's a little bit more extroverted. I think, it was just like a learning experience. I think with each person, each individual, you have to treat them as individuals. So I guess I have to contradict myself. I can't not date another introvert. I have to go by the person. But I think it's okay I think it's okay to have your preferences and to have a type and go after a type, but not at the expense of axing out complete like groups of men. Because it's too new. Yeah, because I get upset when
people say that about other people and other groups of, no matter who they are. If people say like, I don't date this type of guy. I'm like, well, girl, why? So yeah. Oh, man.
Why you say, oh, man?
Because I just have to try out all these new things, guys. This is a lot, you know. But it's okay. 2018.
We doing it.
Trying something
new. Dating is not easy. Yeah. Dating in New York City is not easy. Dating as we continue to get older is not easy. But I think definitely doing what Becca does, sticking with what's familiar, what's old and comfortable is not the way to go. At least for us in this stage of our life. Gotta try something new, gotta take risks, gotta open up our mind and open up the box. And give lots of different guys a chance. The nice guy, the toxic masculine. I'm kidding.
No.
Totally kidding. So yeah, is that it? Are we good? Is that?
Yeah, that's
the
it.
episode, guys. That was fun.
It was.
Nice little.
A little triggering, but it was fun.
A little triggering. I want to go get back on Bumble now and find my husband. But yeah, everybody, next week we will be here with Rachel Lindsay. So exciting. But please email us your questions. The 5 themes we just went through today. We want to hear about your experiences, your issues, your hot mess of lives, and what you're dealing with. Send us in your questions and we'll answer them on air with Rachel. Our email is 2blackgirls1rose@gmail.com.
So excited to hear your questions, guys.
And follow us on all the things: Instagram, Twitter, rate, review, subscribe.
Facebook.
And we'll be back next week with a special guest. So excited. All right. That's it. Yep.
Talk to you then, guys.
Bye.
Bye.